It's the Five Stones Radio Show with your hosts, Raymond, the Real Estate Monkey Modulin, and Collin Hedegaard. Sit back, relax, try to survive. Here comes the Five Stones Radio Show.
All right, good morning and welcome to this fine Saturday morning. We want to thank everybody for tuning in. I am Raymond Modulin, the Real Estate Monkey, and with me today,
I am Collin Hedegaard. Good morning.
And batting third in our lineup is
Joe Trester. Good morning, everyone.
Yeah, Joe's working the research desk. We always make him do stuff for us while we're here. Today, I want to remind everybody, don't forget about YouTube. Go to our YouTube and search Five Stones Mortgage, and you can see all of our past shows, plus some other stuff we do regarding mortgages and businesses and things of that nature.
Yeah, behind the scenes, video footage, and hear candid discussion during the breaks.
Very candid in some cases.
And funny.
Yeah, and funny.
Super fun.
If you're tuning in, I know that you are obviously interested in businesses and obviously mortgages. So I'd like to remind everybody, if you're looking to refinance, hint, hint, or new purchase, don't forget you can go to fivestonesmortgage.com and apply online or give Collin a call, and he'd be glad to help you out with any of your financing needs.
Absolutely. Check it out, fivestonesmortgage.com. All kinds of great information there. And keep in mind, when you need money, it's a lot harder to get.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say there? If you're anticipating a recession, people lose their jobs, all kinds of things. If you're ever thinking about getting some money out to start a business or do something fun, now would be the time.
Be proactive, not reactive.
Well, many times people come calling when, I lost my job and I need money. Well, guess what?
Well, you lost your job.
You need a job. So once you get back to work, we'll loan you some. But I need it now.
You know, growing up, I played in a band, and Joe was in music and all that. And we used to laugh all the time about Kramer guitars would be like giving Eddie Van Halen a new guitar. And I'm like, dude, he can afford it. Give me a new guitar.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, I'd like that. Actually, bass guitar, but not regular guitar. So welcome today. What we're going to talk about today actually is of advantage to a lot of you people out there looking to start your own business. We have talked about this in parts for the last 5, 6, 7 weeks, financing part and idea. But what we would like to talk about now is the actual chronological order of what happens when you're starting a new business, because recently we've just started another business. And we're jumping through the hoops and all the litigation and all the licensing and all of that. And I think it's might be kind of cool to talk about it.
It is interesting. I remember years ago before I started Five Stones Mortgage, I was talking to you about a business plan. And you said, I really don't care. And now, as we jump through these hoops and all this stuff, if we had a plan, it wouldn't have helped or mattered. Because things come up that are so unexpected or...
I think business plans are something that bankers ask for.
Yeah, that we did.
Just to see if maybe you've put some thought into it.
Yeah, I mean, some things need to be thought about and organized, but for the most part, you just can't anticipate all the hurdles and the bureaucratic things that come up. And we were on hold today. You were for...
Yeah.
Well, I think it was that great 20th century philosopher, Mike Tyson. Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face.
Yeah.
Yes.
Same thing with all of this.
Yeah.
Everyone has a plan until you actually have to do it.
Well, and one of the other things I will say, I think business plans work really great if it's maybe your first business, because it does force you to think about certain things, and stuff will come up. But I would like to think that now in our waning years of business, we've done enough of these that I did not have a business plan.
No, we didn't write a plan down. But the steps are happening, so we're in real time, and that's what we're going to talk about is walking through.
The other thing about this particular business, and I think there's a lot that actually start this way, is that it started as a hobby.
Yeah. Well, we were puffing on cigars and enjoying that. And
Yep.
Yeah, so this happens a lot. We talked to a good friend of ours yesterday who owns a construction company, and we literally asked him that question, and he was doing it part-time working for another guy while he had a full-time job, and then his full-time job got unrealistic, according to him. So when he quit day one being full-time, it was, I don't want to say it was a hobby, but it was something he was already doing.
Yeah, it just kind of appeared and
Yeah.
materialized in front of him, an opportunity.
It's very hard to say, well, what day did you start?
Yeah.
Very, very seldom. I can tell you in the real estate world, I know what day because I tell everybody I didn't jump off the entrepreneurial cliff. I got pushed off. You know, our company sold out. They cut us all a check to go away. And basically I went from, a director in a Fortune 50 company day on Friday and day Saturday completely unemployed.
So that was the day he got
Yeah.
into business.
I remember I came home early and I said, hey, I'm home early. And the first thing my wife said is, what'd you do?
Mm-hmm.
She knows you way too well.
What'd you do? I'm like, I didn't do nothing. So, yeah, I know my day because it literally, we got canned at 3 o'clock, and by 3:15, we were standing in the parking lot looking at each other and go, what just happened?
Wow. Yeah, that'd be a shocker.
Yeah. Now, they did give us, and I tell people, I did not get a brass parachute when we retired. We got we didn't get a golden parachute. We got a brass parachute.
Which is something.
Yeah. I mean, they could have just said bye, but they did give us a year's worth of salary and Cobra for a year, so I was kind of covered, but I meant long term, I did not have a job.
25 years ago, having a job was different than it is today.
Oh,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? It was like that was
You
that
had a
was
career.
but that was the purpose of a person. I mean, like our parents, I mean, that's all they, oh my gosh, I need
Well,
a job.
I honestly remember my dad was mad at me
Yeah.
because I got fired,
Couldn't
which
keep up,
technically we got fired. My dad got mad at me because he was like, didn't you dedicate yourself? I'm like, yes, but companies aren't dedicated to their employees like they used to be. Dad got out of the military in 1964, joined Chrysler Corporation, and retired in 2002.
Yeah, that doesn't happen anymore. My
You
dad
know.
did the same thing, but nowadays it's common for people to have 7 or 8 jobs throughout their life.
And the funny thing is, and this wasn't our topic, but we can talk about this. Dad told me one time when they bought the house, their first house, he went into Chrysler and asked if he could get his paycheck a day early so they could close. And the secretary pulled a check out of her desk drawer, typed up his check a day early so he could close and buy the house that I kind of grew up in. Can you imagine going to Elon Musk's company and go, hey, can I get paid a day early because I need the money?
First he'd say, what's a check?
Yeah.
My dad was the last teacher in his whole township to go to direct deposit. And I thought it was funny, and then eventually I talked to him, and I figured out why. He used to like to go to the bank, take his check, and he would take out $100 or $200 and stick it in his pocket, and the deposit looked like his pay, and that was his running money. He's like, I don't want direct deposit.
Then my wife can see it all.
That's right. Then he has to withdraw $200 and explain it.
Can we direct deposit into 2 accounts, please?
Yeah, they can probably do
So-
that now.
So, yeah, little different, but let's talk a little bit about this. And like I was saying, this was a hobby. The 3 of us, plus a bunch of others,
Yep.
enjoy cigars.
That's right.
That is probably, our only bad habit, that and telling tall stories. So we have been cigar aficionados for a number of years. Well, then the opportunity came for us to take this group of guys that were into cigars into a freestanding building.
If I remember, I think actually COVID might have propagated some of this, right? Because we had a place to hang out and we were playing euchre and smoking cigars, and then COVID popped. They didn't want to have seats in there.
COVID was 100% responsible.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's been a while, but I'm remembering that.
Because the location that we were going to, I want to say panicked a little bit
Yeah,
because we didn't, in the early months, they didn't really weren't sure. So there was the group of us that were very tight-knit that didn't see each other for a while, which was also problematic.
Yes.
But that caused us to then go, okay, well, we need another place where we can still meet and enjoy cigars together. And that led to a freestanding building, which we're still in to this day.
Yeah, and now it's expanding further. But there's not a lot of smoker-friendly places. It's hard to find a place to go and have a cigar.
So that led to a freestanding place, which then involved, okay, well, now we got to buy our cigars somewhere else. And then we travel over to this place and sit in this private club, and we do that. Well, then the evolution came, well, why aren't we buying our own cigars for us here so that we don't have to travel over there to come back? Mm-hmm. So that evolution led into us going, okay, well, maybe we need to hook up with some cigar wholesalers and buy cigars.
Sounds great. What'd they say, though?
Did sound great.
And then they said,
oh, well, to do that, you need a sales or tobacco sales certificate. We said, okay, well, we'll get that. So we made application for that, which there was a cost for.
Government instituted tax.
Do what?
Sorry. Government instituted tax.
So there was a cost for that sales certificate. So we got that. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, well, you also need a registered retail merchant certificate because you will have to collect sales tax even if you're selling to a private club. So we got that.
Well, it's in the mail.
Well, it's in the mail, yes. So they told us it would be 48 hours. 9 days ago. So prior to us recording just 20 minutes ago, I was on the phone on hold and finally got connected to a young lady named Nicole down at the Department of Revenue who was gracious enough to go, yes, you have been approved. And I said, I need that tax number. So she gave me our tax location ID number that now we can make the next step forward.
And I would like to say she was quite friendly and knowledgeable, which was nice for a change to get on the phone with someone and actually have a good experience.
Yeah. In government. That's excellent.
Yeah. Now, the other part to this that we kind of glossed over was the fact that, and if you watch our podcast on YouTube, we talk a little bit about that this also incurred some other costs because now we've got to store cigars, which is going to require a humidor, which there was a cost to, and then it's going to use distilled water, so now there's an ongoing cost that maybe we didn't figure into, and you start adding up stuff like, well, gallon of distilled water, $3, not bad, right? Well, you may need 3 or 4 of them every week. You just incurred another $600 or $700 expense annually that maybe you didn't account for.
Well, maybe after the break we should get into some of those questions we ask about businesses. We kind of talked about the why, how this business came about, why this business, and we can get into the details after the break.
All right. Well, you heard the boss. You are listening to Five Stones Mortgage. We will be right back.
Do you want to know the best kept secret in Johnson County? The Cigar Club of Indiana is a private club of like-minded individuals that enjoy indulging in premium cigars and robust conversations. If you're interested in scheduling your free personal tour, visit cigarclubofindiana.com. That is cigarclubofindiana.com. We look forward to meeting you. And now, back to the Five Stones Radio Show.
All right, welcome back. I'm your host, Raymond Modulin, a.k.a. The Real Estate Monkey. And with me, we've got...
This is Collin Hedegaard.
And...
Joe Trester. Good morning again, everyone.
And unbeknownst to Collin, now is the time that we need to ordain him as Collin, the Great Dane Hedegaard.
Yes.
The Great Dane?
The Great Dane.
If anybody doesn't know, Collin is of Danish background, right?
Yeah, Grandpa got on a ship when he was about 14 and was sent here by his parents.
So Collin is now the Great Dane.
The Great Dane.
Okay.
That was the winning nickname that came in.
The Great Dane.
Yeah.
The Dane is okay.
Joe and I talked about it. You weren't involved
that's
in
fine.
that because we didn't want to veto, but I actually like that. The Great
I like
Dane.
that one a lot,
I have
too.
needed a nickname, so that's good.
It's the Great Dane. Not to be confused with a Great Dane. You're the Great Dane.
The Great Dane.
Yeah. It's like Ohio State.
Yeah. Unlike the football game that we watched earlier in the week where TCU was not the great anything.
No.
The Great Defeat.
The great defeat. So what we are talking about is new business starting and how a lot of the new businesses actually foster themselves from either one or two areas. Either it's a business you were doing and then you have went out and started your own business in that arena, or it was a hobby that has turned into a path of maybe some profit that you are looking at, and you go, oh, I think I can turn this hobby into a job. So there's both. Yeah. That's probably the two most common ways.
Well, this one was a passion thing from the beginning. We love cigars. We like getting together with like-minded guys, and it also came out of necessity that we needed a place.
Yes.
So we were, in a way, we were kind of doing that for our own selfish reasons to have a place to go, and it blossomed into an opportunity of bringing in members, and
it gave us an opportunity to protect our people as well during that time.
Yes.
It was a safe place for all of us to go to do that.
Well, the other thing, I don't want to jump topics all the time, but the other one that is probably inherent to Collin right now in Five Stones Mortgage, as well as the real estate brokerage, is the second way that businesses usually start, is they were doing it for somebody else and then decided they want to do it on their own.
Yeah, I think that's going to be another common theme. A lot of people kind of transition. They're good at something, and they transition away from one place to...
So I think one of the major concerns in that methodology is, do you alienate who you used to work for? Because now, in essence, you are a competitor of them. You went from being an ally to being a competitor.
Yeah, I mean, that's some businesses take that a lot more seriously. You know, in the banking world, if you were to take clients and information and things like that, I mean, they may pursue you for
legal reasons.
For legal
and we
reasons.
know at least one where that happened.
Yeah, we do.
I don't know the outcome, but I do know. We do know one lady that is being chased by a former employer as being integral to their operation, left to go to another operation, and now they're pursuing legal ramifications.
That's definitely a challenge. I mean, and consider too, even in our little situation, everybody was buying cigars in one place. Perhaps they're going to buy them in another place.
Well, that's the point I was getting ready to get to, because we're going to run into that potentially in this scenario, even if it's a hobby, because if it was a hobby, let's say buying RC airplanes. You're buying RC airplanes from someplace, and then all of a sudden you turn your RC hobby airplane into a business, and now you could potentially alienate yourself from the original place you were at, which may or may not be a big issue to you, but I meant
could be.
It could be.
Yeah, I think competition overall is great for the consumer, and that's the right answer, is to keep competing. And nobody gets in business without any risk. I mean, we've talked about that.
Yeah.
Well, and I think
too.
in the case of this scenario, especially, handling it in a proper way before you start is important. I mean, I think we all know that if you can avoid burning a bridge, you always want to avoid burning that bridge, because that isn't what you're setting out to do in the first place. But going to someone and talking with them and explaining where you're at and where it's coming from and why, which in this situation we did.
Yes.
I mean, we've talked with them because
we wanted to buy the bridge, actually. We
did. We wanted to buy the bridge.
We actually offered to buy that bridge.
Which is another way to enter a business. You know, you don't have to create it from the ground up. You can actually buy an existing business, and that's very plausible. And we were interested in doing that. It just wasn't the time. The timing wasn't right.
And, the funny thing about that is there are so many things that actually have to be in line. He wants to sell.
Yeah.
We want to buy. But the timing issue is he wants 2 or 3 more years before he sells. We are not in a position to kind of wait that. I mean, he liked the number we gave him.
Yeah.
I mean, he flat out told me, I like the number you're offering. So even though there was a seller in theory and a buyer in theory, there was no deal because timing, which is something we've never talked about yet, about the timing of when to buy.
Well, we deal with that daily in real estate and the mortgage world. You can have a really good seller and a really good buyer, and it just does not line up.
Well, the truth is we don't have the patience to wait that long, and he, wants to do what he wants to do.
So the bridge asked to be burned. No, we didn't build bridges. But some other stuff that has come about that was not in the business plan was obviously capital injection to make the building better.
Yeah.
So that it would be more visually appealing to potential club members of this cigar club.
Yeah, those giant pews were so uncomfortable to sit and smoke and watch TV.
Yeah, we actually bought a church, truth be known, is what it was.
Yeah.
That was a practicing church, and which we still have church in that place. We still have Wednesday night men's Bible study in there.
Yep.
But we did take out the wooden pews, and they were donated to another church, by the way. So they were recycled to another church looking to expand. But I'm talking, so we had all of the interior, so that this hobby of mine that has turned into $200,000 of
real estate investment
and capital injection now is going to turn into potentially another small business because of just the evolution of it growing to the point where these people wanted, hey, can we buy cigars here like we were talking about earlier?
I feel perhaps we should take a minute and I'll describe what this building is like now so that maybe some listeners want to come and check it out.
Well, they could go to cigarclubofindiana.com and schedule a free tour. Schedule a free tour.
Well, imagine a small local church surrounded by a graveyard, but there's a parking lot. You walk inside, now there's stadium seating, there's big televisions, there's smoke-destroying air handling systems. There's a humidor. There's 4 or 5 card tables where guys like to play euchre, and there's a lot of space. There's a few recliners, different sitting areas. There's storage in the basement. There's lockers. It's quite a facility.
Sounds like a good place. I actually want to go now.
That's why I think we need to describe it. It's really a great place, and it's got the environment of comfort and relaxing, and it's a good place to sit down. And
it's secluded.
It is secluded.
I mean, we don't interfere with any surrounding neighbors.
And another reason that didn't matter, this is a place that's a location you go to. You don't need it to be in the high rent district across from the mall.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't think you want it to be. You want it to be someplace where someone can go and be away.
Yeah. So it just worked out, and that was a case where timing was excellent.
Yeah, that timing worked out.
Looking for a building, found this one, happened to pop back on the market.
Priced right. At that time.
Left a little room for investment into the...
But once again, it's cigarclubofindiana.com and schedule a free tour if you're interested.
Come join us.
We'd like to invite anybody, even though it's a private club. Anybody can come out and potentially join.
It's really a reasonable membership, too.
Yeah.
There's an annual membership.
We have monthly euchre tournaments.
Yep.
We have, like I said, men's Bible study on Wednesday nights.
There's a second group meeting there, too.
There's a second group of Bible study on Tuesday nights.
We've had bourbon tasting events. We've had poker nights. We've had all kinds of events.
Yeah. So if you want to check that out, this is what we were talking about that originally started as a nucleus in another location that forced us to move to a location, then forced us to start buying our own cigars, then forced us to get into the actual retail portion of selling cigars to our club members. So this business came about because of a hobby that we all liked.
It's a wonderful place. It's a great place.
So, one of the other things coming the other way, let's go back to the other thing we talked about alienating yourself, because we see that in our business. You know, I've got I can name hundreds of brokers that worked for me that eventually left to start their own brokerage.
Are they dead to you now, or do you still hear from them and help?
You're dead to me.
I think it depends on the exit.
I think it does depend on the exit. I will tell you that there was only one guy that I would probably still harbor ill will, and that's probably not the right thing for me to say, but he tremendously did it wrong. I remember he told me, I am coming back to the office, and I am going to get you so mad that you hit me, and I will own your company. So
I'll just hit you before I get mad. How about that?
Actually, where he made his mistake was one of my best friends at the time owned ESG Security, who was in the same building. So I went upstairs and talked to Joe Robinson and got him to bring a couple of his guys down, who escorted Steve out of the building.
Nice.
I didn't have to deal with it at all.
It usually, this business, things work themselves out. You kind of start to smell that things are changing or detected, and then, you know, suddenly they move their license and send you a broken heart email.
You know, the funny thing is, I tell all the agents when they come on, I look at my brokerage like AAA baseball. I am there to teach them to be good. And I have no illusions that once they become good, just like AAA baseball, they are going to move up and out of my organization to start their own business. Now, the funny thing is, I think that because I'm an entrepreneurial person at heart, I would expect everybody to eventually want to own their own business. There are a couple in our business, you and I both know who I'm talking about, will never leave because the low fee that I charge them to do the taxes, the accounting, the paperwork, the risk taking.
It's an outsourcing for
them.
managing brokerage duties.
They will never leave.
Yeah.
And that's because of a mindset or the fact that the cost they're paying for me is cheaper than them doing it themselves.
Yeah, the mortgage industry has typically just worked itself out where people kind of, fizzle out or don't do what's needed, or they start to not show up, and then you kind of just detect, okay, I think this one's coming to an end, and then it just works itself out. So there's rarely ill will. Usually it's just, you know what, not a good fit. You get it and I get it. So,
you know, I think that in your business, it's actually a little harder to leave the comfort of Five Stones Mortgage to go out and start their own.
Oh, yeah. If anybody wants to talk about starting their own mortgage company, I'd be happy to talk
because
about that.
You have got you've got to get hooked up with wholesalers, which means they've got to have good credit. You had to have good credit. You've got bonding issues where you had to buy bonds and being able to even be bondable. Yeah, whereas in the real estate world, they just move their license and start their own.
Yeah, you can't have your license in two places in mortgage. You're probably not in real estate either. But when you go to start up, you got to have a principal manager. They got to set up, get approved. The company has to get approved. So you probably, it took us 5 or 6 months before we could actually have revenue coming in. So you got to be ready for that.
Yeah, but the other thing I guess I was talking about that's even harder is even if you've got the 5 or 6 months, they may not have the ability because, remember, we had to have a net worth.
Yeah, there's a net worth.
And you had to be able to be bondable, and you had to, be at certain background requirements.
Years of experience, 3 of the last 5 years.
Yeah, so there are some people that couldn't even start a mortgage company where those requirements really aren't as stringent in the real estate world.
No.
Pretty much if you've got 2 years in and a pulse,
you're in.
You can be into the managing broker and start your own company. We don't have a bond requirement like you do.
Yeah.
Now, the Modulin Group does have E&O insurance, which that's a whole topic we haven't talked about, but it is not required of us to have that.
Yeah, everyone can play Russian roulette and do what they want.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean.
I was just saying everyone can play Russian roulette with it and do what they want, which is what gets them in trouble.
Now, we have insurance for that, but like I said, it's not a requirement. So that barrier to go from working under a managing broker to being your own managing broker, I think is way easier than any of your LOs just waking up one day and go, I'm going to start my own mortgage company.
Yeah, I think, you're right about that. I think we ought to take an obscene profit timeout and come back after the break.
All right, you are listening to Five Stones Radio. We will be right back.
Five Stones Mortgage is your hometown mortgage provider. With Hoosier hospitality, small town values, and national connections, we can assist you in achieving your dreams. At Five Stones Mortgage, you talk, we listen, we mortgage. Visit Five Stones Mortgage at fivestonesmortgage.com. CHRM Financial LLC, DBA Five Stones Mortgage, NMLS number 1720228. And now, back to the Five Stones Radio Show.
Hey, welcome back. I'm Raymond Modulin, the Real Estate Monkey.
I'm Collin Hedegaard, the Great Dane.
The Great Dane. And rounding out the space here is Mr. Joe Trester on the email desk / resource research center. So, while we were on break, Collin brought up a good point that I wanted to ask him a question, but I thought, let's wait till we get on the air so that we can actually hear it. Before we get there, don't forget to go to YouTube and search Five Stones Mortgage. Hit subscribe for us. We really would like to know that. And the little bell will alert you when we put stuff out. And Joe's really good. He's been putting out stuff about twice a week for us. So, Joe, thank you very much for that.
There's a lot of content.
There's a lot of content out there that you guys can listen to. Also, do not forget the main focus here is for Collin to help you guys get that new purchase mortgage in the real estate world. So go to fivestonesmortgage.com, click on the Apply Now button. You can do it at midnight while you're sitting in your PJs watching Yellowstone, and it takes about 10 minutes. And the good thing is that a soft pull on the credit?
Well, we can do a soft pull now, but that's pretty much we've got some technology now where we can just do a soft inquiry.
All right, so
we can get you full bore approved.
A soft pull, explain that to me.
Well, that's just kind of a pop on the credit bureau to kind of get a score and get an idea of where things stand.
Does it count?
Doesn't count as an application for credit. So if you go ask somebody for money, that's a hard pull. If you just want an inquiry to see where I stand, that's a soft pull.
And the soft pull doesn't
hurt your credit. It's not like an application for credit.
So you heard that here. Five Stones Mortgage is one of the first, has come up with a technological advance where they can actually do a soft pull on your credit. So if that's something that you've always thought, well, I'd like to figure out, but I don't want to hit my credit, go to fivestonesmortgage.com, talk to Collin, and we can actually use some new technology that does not hit your credit score, but will give him an insight to help you determine if now's the time.
Yeah, the software does one other neat thing, if I may. It actually also can predict appraisal waivers, which is a thing where you might buy a house, you may not have to even pay for an appraisal. They'll just say, we think it's worth $300. They accept that. Don't have to pay for an appraisal. Speeds up the process. We can predict that. That now.
Speeds up the process and saves you $400 to $600.
Yeah, exactly.
So check that out at fivestonesmortgage.com or call Collin. It's Collin at fivestonesmortgage.com. He'll be glad to walk you through all of that and help you out. What we're talking about now is this evolution of a hobby into a full-time business at some point. Now, I know the next evolution that we haven't really thought about yet, or I've thought about, and we've talked about it, is at some point we're going to need an employee there full-time because there are going to be people that are going to start, well, if I buy my cigars there, I want to run over at 9 o'clock in the morning and get some, or 3 o'clock in the evening, or 8 o'clock in the evening. So the next evolution is to have that manned, which is going to bring in Department of Revenue, taxes, and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, point of sale, computer, software.
Yeah. So there's more purchasing coming down the road for, like you said, point of sale, inventory control. You've got employees that are going to be working there. So there's going to be other stuff that is coming, even to get this hobby, and we're only about 60% of the way there.
Yeah, loss prevention, which is also a person with a stick.
A person with a stick that'll stand there and smack them?
Smack 'em in the hand.
No.
Bad.
Personnel, man, we were talking, and I don't know what question you had in mind, but that's a heartburn issue. It can be.
Well,
Great
that was going to
people-
be my question is, what do you mean? I mean, you had said that the biggest heartburn for you in your business was the personnel.
Well, it's evolved over the years. I mean, in the beginning, my thought was if I'm going to pay people commissions only, I can bring people in. If it doesn't work out, no big deal. I don't pay them, but I did not
Enjoy that?
I didn't bank on the frustration level when you give them training, you give them the playbook, you give them leads, you show them all these things. They don't do what you ask them to do. There's a different level of accountability for commission people, which we've talked about, versus getting a paycheck. So
Right.
that is one level of the heartburn. And then, as people, it's natural, people come and go, but it always stings a little bit when you've invested time and you've invested training and knowledge and things like that, and they first they don't enact it, and then they decide
Blame
to
you
leave.
for it?
Well, yeah, they decide to leave.
Yeah.
Things didn't go as I planned. Well, did you do what I asked you? Well, no. Well,
Here's the question. If that person takes all of the knowledge that you gave them and moves to another company and uses what you gave them to become successful, are they dead to you?
I'm gonna say no.
That's slightly different than
It is
somebody
different.
that's leaving the business.
Yeah.
I mean, this is coming from experience for those of you out there listening in on Collin. Just recently, this has happened. But now this guy is completely leaving
leaving
the
the
business.
Yeah, in the ways leaving the industry.
So he's not kind of taking your information and
yeah,
starting.
people's families, things change, and maybe they can't stomach the commission-only environment and stuff like that. I get all that, and I think ultimately I hired somebody because I saw something or I liked them, and that doesn't just go away instantly. So I'm happy for them. If they take something I taught them and they use it to their advantage, I feel like if I do good things, that's going to come back to me. So ultimately, I'm not going to feel any ill will about it.
I don't know. I think I would have to maybe be a little different.
Well, I'm not going to say it doesn't hurt or bother me, but
I mean, how many hours do you think you put into this education of a person that we think is, well, it doesn't cost us anything to hire 100% commission? Well, it costs you probably...
Yeah, 10 hours a deal, 5 to 10 hours a deal, 5-6 deals, 2 hours a week in training.
Yeah, so you've got 100 hours wrapped up into
Yeah,
this.
I mean, it's an investment, which, and when you hire someone, you're willing to make that investment.
It's a relationship, and it's a...
Oh, here we go.
No, but it is.
Here comes the millennial.
No, not a millennial thing. It's, first of all, I'm not a millennial, so take that one back out of your mouth. Don't ever call me something that filthy again.
Wow.
But secondly,
Isn't that what a millennial would say? I'm not a millennial. Don't call me that.
no, they would wear that and then go cry in a corner. Anyhow, the problem when you're developing a relationship like that, or the same conversation I have with my daughter when she is making a friend, you put everything you have into it. If that other person is not putting anything back, that's what leaves you feeling the way you feel, because you have put forth that effort, you've put yourself into it. That doesn't mean they're going to do the same thing in response. And that is a very difficult thing to imagine when you're in that deep, to realize that they're not necessarily in the deep end of the pool with you.
I think in my brain, I get confused because I don't understand why they wouldn't do what needs to be done. I mean, if they take the job.
If you could solve that
that is the mystery.
You would be better than Grant Cardone and Dave Ramsey rolled together.
Well, we'll put our heads together at the club and
Yeah.
Yes.
If you
Figure
can
this
figure
out.
out why people don't do what a successful person tells them to do, you would be
Well,
the king of mortgage trading.
I'm not going to pretend like I'm not a little bit at fault for. I mean, I didn't retain the guy. I mean, you know what I mean. If somebody leaves, I maybe I need to.
So what could an employer do better to retain the guy? If you feel that it was your fault, and I am in no way defending him nor you, what do you think you could have done?
Well, the only things you can do is create different levels of accountability, or which.
Do you think paying him a salary would have retained him?
Yeah, probably.
Or do you think paying him a salary would have allowed for him to slack off more?
I think people in this industry, if they get a salary, they are going to do the minimum needed to do to hit
That's
their,
the
hit
point
their
I'm
monthly.
getting at.
So eventually we would go out of business if I paid people salaries.
So basically, do you want to retain everyone? I mean, that's the
No, I think
you
this
want to
is-
retain the ones that are
Producers.
but
This is another one of those things that usually works itself out. I mean,
Yeah.
people that belong in the business succeed and stay in the business. People that don't belong in it find something else.
So should anybody pay an hourly or salary to somebody? Or should you start all your business as everybody gets paid a portion of what we do?
I think
Is that
so.
socialism?
I think some people, yeah, in a way that is. Some people are made to work for an hourly wage and trade their time, and those jobs need to exist. So some people should.
Would this mortgage world be one of them?
No, I don't think this is it.
So what we really need to come up with is a way to judge a person's dedication.
Well,
Or
I mean,
maybe that's not the right word.
here's what would happen if I paid somebody $100,000 salary. I would expect them to do $200,000 worth of
Work.
If somebody does that, they're not going to stay for a salary. The person that exceeds those
Going to go into
numbers
sales.
is going to go to a commission job because they can make double the money.
We just recently hired a new salesman or a new broker at the Modulin Group. And we went through this whole interview and we talked. And at the end of it, he was very well spoken. And he said to me, "Tell me what you think of the way I answered."
Yeah.
And he was pretty blatant, and we got on pretty good terms, and I felt open enough to tell him, I said, I will reserve that answer for 2 weeks. And he was a little shocked because I couldn't respond, and I said, because everybody that sits in that chair says the exact same thing.
Let's see what happens.
Much like this guy that just left said the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm dedicated. I'll do what I need to do. I want to be successful. I want to make a lot of money. And then lo and behold, 8 months later, sorry, I quit because I'm not making any money. That's because you're not doing what we told you to do. And I told that guy this. I said, I'll reserve my judgment for 2 weeks because I want to see if you actually do what you said. It's very easy for someone to say, yes, I'm dedicated. And I guess that's what I was thinking. I wish there was a way we could look at somebody and they would glow green
Right.
if they were that person, or they grow blue. Sorry, you're not the right person. But we don't know that.
There's something that, unless you could talk about what they've been doing in the past and talk to their past employers, which is almost a no-no now.
And that would be the closest.
That's the best
And
indicator.
past history doesn't always predict current, but it's the best that we've got. So if someone comes to you and says, yes, I've been a mortgage loan originator for the last 15 years. I make $150,000 every year. Good chance you're going to make $150,000 this year. Unfortunately, those aren't the people you're dealing with. You're dealing with people that are switching careers and say, oh, I want to be successful, but never really.
Yeah, in this case, it was a new to the industry person, which requires more time and investment.
Yeah.
So I made that choice. So I guess that's what I was trying to say is I deserve a little bit of the blame because I took a risk on a new to the industry person.
Well, damn you
But
for trying.
well, you're trying to lift somebody up. We've got 2 or 3 success stories in the business too.
Oh,
where
yeah.
we've, brought them out of a job they were miserable, and all of a sudden they're making 6-figure money, and they're happy, and they're free and independent.
And they're doing what we told them to do.
Yeah,
It's
Even
almost like we knew what we're doing.
just a little bit.
Almost.
You're not in this business for 22 years and don't have some kind of idea of what's going on and what it takes to stay in this business for 22 years. But hey, that's just me. You are listening to Five Stones Radio. We're going to take a small break. We will be right back.
Do you want a chance to learn from home and create a new career in real estate? Go to realuniversity.com. You can start your new career in real estate in as soon as 6 weeks. It's not nuclear physics, it's realuniversity.com. Pass the test! And now, back to the Five Stones Radio Show.
All right, welcome back to Five Stones Radio Show. Sitting over there in the seat is the Great Dane himself, Mr. Collin Henegard.
Welcome. Good morning, everyone.
And I am Raymond Modulin, the Real Estate Monkey, and Mr. Joe Trester at the research desk doing absolutely nothing this show.
Hello. I'm staring at a fabulous website for Cigar Club of Indiana.
No. We are talking about the evolution of starting a business and how sometimes it's hard to put your finger on the day we started because it started in this particular case as a hobby that we were kind of pushed into getting a new location and then pushed into getting our own cigars. And then all of a sudden now, ta-da, it could be a profitable business.
Yeah, so the next iteration would be after get to selling cigars. Now what? Scaling?
You know, it's funny. We can go back to that show that we did a couple minutes ago, and I know we're running short on time, but I would say that this is a business that I started thinking about scaling at the same time we started thinking about starting, rather than waiting until I thought, oh, this is big, we should scale it. I started thinking about scaling at the same time. Can we get a second license in another place? What about other states? Can we do it online? And you and I have talked about several different ways to do online sales.
Yep.
So in this particular case, this is one where I had literally thought about, hey, we need to start thinking about scaling now. And the other thing that we haven't talked about is exit strategy. This would be one that would be a good sell in 4 or 5 years. If you can get the sales up to 300,000, 400,000, 500,000, make it worth $1 million, bing, we're out. So this is one that I'm trying to think more of as a business that's going to generate us income and not, oh, this is my baby, I'm in love with it. So I'm already started thinking about scaling, already started thinking exit strategy, and we technically really aren't in business yet.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to scale this one. We can move online. We can set up new locations. We can do all kinds of things. Grow the membership is one way.
Yeah.
Scale.
So there are a lot of opportunities in this.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So it's funny that a lot of people don't think about that from the onset. They wait till it's time to exit, and they're like, okay, now what do I do? Oh, I want to get bigger. Well, now it's really hard because you've already been doing something a certain way for 5 or 10 years, and you got to completely switch.
We have been sitting around tables and thinking and talking, and I think that many people don't have such a thing where you talk about making money and you talk about doing business ideas, and it's been important for all of us, having the Bible study with a bunch of small business owners. I've tried that. I've done that. Don't do that.
Maybe we need to start a brain trust with listeners out there that would like to come in and sit around for an hour and let us help them on their specific business. How many emails have we answered that the first question out of our mouth was, oh, we need to know a little bit more? It would be kind of cool if somebody was sitting with us that could specifically say, in this case, here's that answer. Okay, well, have you thought about this? Have you done that? Maybe
it'd be fun.
That would be a good idea to maybe help out some of the listeners.
That'd be awesome.
Specifically where we could sit with them as a group and go, okay, the one of the three of us have probably done something in the bar world or in the retail world or in the licensing world, so that we could actually provide that person with some real concrete answers.
Yeah, I think if you can't face the fire on a few critical questions or suggestions, you're going to have a hard time running a business. So you need to be ready to overcome some objections.
That's probably more important than creating a giant business plan.
Well,
you need to have an idea, but this becomes the business.
That was just going to say, in our podcast that you can find on YouTube, we just talked about having yes men. And a lot of people want to start a business, and they ask their buddy, and their buddy goes, well, yeah. You don't necessarily want that guy. You want the guy like Collin that's going to sit across from you and go, really? That's a dumb idea. Have you thought about this? What about this problem? Oh, I didn't think about that. So it is kind of good to have someone to bounce ideas off of so that you get in the right mindset. And the only thing better than a yes is a quick no. I've always said that.
The slow no is brutal.
Yeah, slow no's are brutal, and they cost a lot of money. So if your business works, that's a yes. That's great. If it doesn't work, let's stop it before you get too far down the road and spent 10 or 20,000. And guys can tell you the story. We know of a lady who just started a coffee shop, didn't have product market fit, ended up having to file personal bankruptcy because she blew through her husband's 20 grand.
Well, over the coming weeks, we're going to have some interesting interviews of some local businesses and successful people. And I think it'll be a lot of fun talking to them, and we can pose some of these questions and challenges to them.
I think it's going to be enlightening.
All right, well, fastest 60 minutes in radio. That's what I've always said. Done already. I want to thank you guys for stopping by. Joe, thank you for the research you've done today.
Thank you. I worked really hard. Lots of effort.
The Great Dane doing it at you.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
And don't forget, if you need to get a mortgage, go to Five Stones. What the hell was that?
FiveStonesMortgage.com is the place.
That's the place. And I'm Raymond Modulin, the Real Estate Monkey. We'll see you all next week. Peace out.